Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm Captain Rick Mosier with the City of Olathe, Kansas Fire Department, currently assigned to Engine Company 4, and here today I have the second generation of Engine Company 4. In 2014, we began an engine redesign for our fire department. Our engines had never really gotten overly large, but we wanted to get them shorter and smaller, lower hose beds, and make them more fireground ready. Olathe is 150,000 people, and we have 11 fire companies in our city, from 8 firehouses, soon to be 9, 2 battalions, and we've grown a lot over the last 8 years. So here with Engine 4, some of the things that we've done, when we look at the front bumper, we still, like we talked about in the last video, we still have our 6-inch front intake that allows us not only to do soft sleeve, but in the rare case that we might need to do drafting, we can do that. We've added our custom logo to the electronic siren so that it hides that. Because we're primarily using the mechanical siren. We have our Mars TB8 traffic breaker light, which works really good for clearing traffic in the city. Also up here on the cab corner, we have our down spotter mirror. What this does is it allows us to see the space 7 feet out from the front bumper. And with our 19-inch extended front bumper, when we make turns, you gain about 8 3/4 inches as you make those turns. So that spotter mirror allows us to make tight backing in parking lots and also make tight turns in parking lots. We have our Federal Q mechanical siren, our main warning device. One of the things that you'll notice between this one and the last one is we've changed our graphics package. We've been a longtime Pierce customer. We've dealt with our dealer, Conrad Fire Equipment, for the last 38 years. They've been our partner in fire apparatus. And we wanted to be reminiscent of our 1980 Pierce Aero pumpers. So we've re-added our gold leafing to it. We went with the red on red stripe. With the current safety studies, we wanted to make sure that we were still visible, but we also wanted to make sure that we didn't draw too much traffic to us. We went with a Blue Sea battery conditioner since the last truck, and that allows us to have a sealed battery charging unit that we don't have to be concerned about having items that might accidentally fall on top of it. Okay, so inside the cab, one of the things that we have added inside the cab is we have a mechanical siren cutoff switch that allows us to kill the power to the mechanical siren for maintenance, and then also if we have a solenoid malfunction. So in our jump seat area, in our fire department, our firefighters prefer to ride backwards because we're an aggressive fire department that makes quick fire attacks using truck and engine operations. We have some small cabinets inside the jump seat area. The officer side one, we store books, and we have our Knox Key Secure, our mini med vault, and things of that nature, and our 4-gas monitor. On the driver's side, we have an engineer gear storage cabinet. Inside both cabinets, we have exterior mounted light switches so that if the door was to remain open at night, you can turn the lights off and continue driving. Underneath the cab, we utilize some unused space to provide more compartmentation. This side is reverse hinged for the engineer so that we can have engineer items in here that they can access. One of the big things that you're going to notice here is our 45-inch pump house. So we have a soft sleeve hose tray that allows us to make quick hydrant connections. And the other thing with our 45-inch pump house is we don't have any crosslays. We've eliminated those since our last builds. And we've also re-added a analog tachometer so that we can see our engine tach as we're pumping the apparatus. We use a Pump Boss 400, and it's really important. The next rigs will have the Pump Boss Max. It is a dual sensor pressure governor, which you want to have on your fire apparatus for optimal pumping so that you do not have any type of cavitation or low water situations. So you always want to make sure that it's on the intake and the discharge side of the pump. Still have our outstanding Trident air prime system, both on the front intake and on the main fire pump. Okay, so one of the unique features of our apparatus, we utilize stang turrets, which are a very robust master stream device. We also use an interconnected hand wheel for the operation of the turrets. So we have a hand wheel on top of the apparatus that can open up the valve, and then you can very rapidly reach over and throttle up the apparatus if the pressure governor does not pick that up. So here at the pump panel, we utilize 5 PSI increment gauges from 0 to 400 PSI and 30 inches of mercury for drafting. What these gauges allow us to do is they're a 1% accuracy gauge so that we can have full range of accuracy in our gauges, but with our 7/8 tip smoothbore and our 1.8 inch tip smoothbore, we can get the most accurate nozzle pressure. These are very robust gauges made by Timming Instruments. And for our master gauges on the pump panel at the top, we also use a 0 to 400 PSI with the 30 inches of mercury for drafting. Those are also done in the 5 PSI increment. So in the Olathe Fire Department with our aggressive fire attack, we want to make sure that we have the most accurate nozzle pressure that we're able to provide to the nozzle firefighter and to the captain working with that firefighter. So we utilize these gauges. In conjunction with that, we also port these gauges on top of the pump plumbing so that we get the most accurate gauge reading instead of porting the gauges off of the drains like in most cases. As we work our way down the body, you know, when you follow the yellow brick road to Kansas, sometimes you run into winter. And we have added lock guards on our door locks. You know, in our city with station renovations and then other things that occur, sometimes we need to lock our compartment doors, and these little lock covers allow us to keep the locks free of sand and salt and winter debris and allow the locks to continue to maintain their longevity. Painted the body doors for the SCBA bottles and fuel and DEF. One of the other unique things that we've added to this apparatus is you'll notice along the top we have fixed scene lighting. We use the Whelen Summit lights. What that allowed us to do is eliminate the extending pole lights from behind the cab, and that took a foot out of the wheelbase. So with this apparatus, we have an overall 183 wheelbase, and it's 31 feet long. So that allows us to maintain maneuverability. The other thing that you'll notice with the front scene lights is we have a 45-degree angle scene light on top of the cab. What that allows us to do is spotlight addresses as we're going down the roadways. So one of the major changes that we have made, this is going to be the first apparatus that we have not had crosslays on. So we've gone to a full rear deployment. In our organization with our aggressive fire attack, we always deploy off the rear. So we have just moved all hose lines to the rear. This allows for a lower overall hose bed and better ergonomics for our firefighters so they can rapidly deploy hose. We have 1 3/4 200 foot, we have a 2.5 200 foot, and then it mirrors it on the officer side. Notice that our labels are very clear. They say 1 3/4 driver's side rear 200 foot. This way at a early hour of the morning, you can be very clear about which valve you're activating and the firefighter knows which hose line that they're operating. We also have handholds built into our hose bed dividers so that it's easy up, easy off. We have a large enough tailboard that a boot can fit on it, so as you load the fire hose. One of the unique features that we have on the back is an intercom system. This allows us to provide additional safety in backing the apparatus. The intercom is live to the tailboard, and then the officer or the engineer can activate the intercom to talk back to the firefighter at the tailboard. As we move around, we have a rotating scene light on top, reflective of the old Unity spotlights, but that allows us to spread the light around the back. And we also have a box that we store our hooks and folding ladder in behind our ground ladders. We use a high side, low side body in Olathe because of the operations with our truck companies, our rescue company, and our engines. So this allows us to keep our ladders low mounted on the side for rapid deployment. So at the Olathe Fire Department, we are an ISO Class 1 fire department. We are a CAFI accredited fire department, and we are also an ALS fire department, providing advanced life support services to our citizens. This is our EMS compartment where we carry all of our advanced life support equipment. And we have a wall outlet here that charges off the shoreline that allows us to keep our suction units and our heart monitors charged if necessary. And it is completely powered off of the Blue Sea charging system. So we utilize a 152 body through Pierce, and we utilize a high side, low side body, which allows us to have our ladders easy to access and easy to deploy for rapid firefighting. They are on adjustable brackets, and we will lower them lower once we receive the apparatus. When we move up to the officer side pump panel, we have an access door here that we can utilize for troubleshooting and maintenance, and we can also utilize it for training purposes. All of our gauges in this apparatus are plumbed in a fashion that will get the most accurate gauge reading here. So this is on a straight run of pipe, which is required to either have 6 inches or 3 inches on either side of the gauge port. With that, we have to have gauge drains in our climate. So these little drains down here allow us to drain excess water out. We also use a very robust fire gauge from Timming Instruments. It's the original span fire gauge. In that, we use 0 to 400 PSI, which is an accurate gauge range for our 7/8 tip smoothbore nozzles and our 1.8" tip smoothbore nozzles. But this gets us the most accurate gauge reading when we deploy and conduct a fire attack by having the gauges ported off of the top side of the pump plumbing. When we look inside of the side compartment here, we have a 6-foot hook that is used for rapid deployment, and we can also keep tools inside here such as the irons for rapid deployment. We want to reduce all of the exposure for our firefighters, so we utilize heavy-duty vinyl seats that are easy to wipe down, and we also utilize a tread plate floor, which we've been carrying over from multiple apparatus. Some of the things that we have up here in the captain's seat for the officer is we have the mechanical siren foot pedal mounted as close to the door as possible, so that way when you have your bunker boots inside the cab and you need to respond, you can still activate the mechanical siren. We have our bell activation, and then air horn pull cord, multiple USB and 12-volt power points so that we can power all of the modern electronics, and the air horn pull chain so that we can move traffic rapidly. Thank you for joining me today. It's an honor and a privilege to join you 8 years later and show you the latest innovations with the Olathe, Kansas Fire Department with the new Engine Company 4. I'd like to thank my apparatus team of Fire Chief Jeff DeGraff and Reed, Deputy Chief Dave Anderson, Assistant Chief Bruce Hardig, Captain Justin Turner, Captain Daryl Strain, Engineer Caleb Strome, and Firefighter Alec Minshew. They have worked tirelessly to bring this apparatus to our department members and then allow me to be able to be here today to bring it to you. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time with another Olathe Fire apparatus.